Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com, and today we're going to be working on yet another project on our 2016 Yamaha YXZ1000R. And as you can tell, we've already done several projects already. One of those being we've upgraded the frame to a 2019, but before we actually put everything together, we put in a frame strengthening kit to make it even stronger. Now also, we went through the engine, dropped the compression from 10.5 down to 9.5 to 1. Also, we've gone through the transmission and done a gear reduction kit. Now, why did we go through all this preparation? Well, it was leading up to this. On this table is an entire GYTR Yamaha turbo kit. Now, there's only one part number, but as you can see, there's a whole bunch of parts under that number. Now, the kit I decided to go with is actually the version 1 from GYTR. The reason I did that is, well, I kind of like the thought of the larger turbo matched with those equal length headers for this particular setup. Now, the installation for version 2 for the newer models, it'll be very similar to what I'll be doing, so you should be able to follow along to get your kit installed. Now, also, this kit already comes with a pre-programmed ECU. However, we have changed the compression ratio inside of the engine, so that'll have to be tweaked before we can actually get the maximum output for this particular engine. Well, Yamaha was nice enough to do a printout of every single thing we're going to need to do to accomplish this installation. It's only 12 pages, 51 different items. How tough can it be? Well, now that I've got my instructions on my parts laid out, all I need to do now is open up my toolbox and we can dive into this project. So let's go. All right, guys, step one, we need to get this radiator up front. And believe it or not, try as you might, it will not wiggle its way in. The only way you can get it back into this cavity is to pull one of the shocks and just lay them out of the way temporarily. Now, these are the original shocks. However, I did upgrade the springs to a set from Airbox. Now, if you've got an older unit like I started with, you need to pay extra special attention to your suspension components and make sure they're up to the task. I had to replace most of mine, but most importantly, you want to make sure your bushings are in good shape on all your different pivot points. Also, you'll notice on this one, we have much beefier CV axles all the way around. I mean, with the kind of power that this machine is going to make, it's only as good as the strongest link in your chain, and that is one of the final links before it makes it out to the tires. So just make sure your machine is going to be up to the task when you add a turbo to it, because it's going to stress everything else probably a little bit further than it was initially designed for. So like me, you'll probably save yourself a whole lot of headache by upgrading it now instead of breaking it later and then upgrading it. Now she'll just slide straight in there-ish. All right, guys, there's 3 attachment points. Basically, you've got these 2 bolts that came with the kit. And the third point is right up here, but that gets sandwiched in your voltage regulator rectifier. And when you're remounting the shock, make sure you torque it to 47 foot-pounds. All right, guys, my next step is I have to remount the footwell so I can see where to notch out for the 2 radiator hoses to be routed through on the driver's side. The hoses are going to come through here, so we need to take out this one little section of webbing so there's enough clearance. Now, if you're watching this and you're saying, well, I don't have that particular beam on my frame, well, no, you wouldn't, because this is part of that frame strengthening kit that I mentioned in the intro. But regardless, we need to take out this section right here where the hoses can go through. These hoses are already cut the length, believe it or not. 68.5 and 112, 3/4 inch. And 44 goes to the top of your radiator, well, heat exchanger, and 43 goes down to the bottom. All right, guys, as it shows on the diagram, the longer hose, which is 44, is toward the outside of the rail. 43 is on the inside. Loops up here, goes up over the drive shaft, and actually I think that's the rear brake line. And then we're going to zip tie it up to that center section, as well as right here to hold it in place. I wouldn't zip tie it tight in place until we get it connected back at the back, and that'll give us our final lengths. All right guys, we're going to install our water pump using the 53 and 54 nut and bolt, and it's right up under the driver's seat on that lower frame rail. So on Yamaha's diagram, it shows the long hose to the outside. I disagree. It's not the first time I've disagreed with somebody's instructions. So I'm putting the short hose on that side because that way it lines up better going to the water pump. Trick of the trade, a small spray of contact cleaner will help get these hoses on. Just be sure, because once they're on, they're not going to want to come back off. Next, we're going to take the 3/4 inch, 56 inch long hose, route it up next to that longer 110, and attach it to the water pump. Actually, you want it this way. All right guys, I think we've got it routed correctly. There may be a few adjustments we'll have to do once the plastics start coming into focus. But for right now, let's go ahead and drop it down. And then we can put those last 2 clamps on the radiator / heat exchanger itself. Then go on to the next step. All right guys, since we're right here, let's go ahead and connect up our wiring, even though our battery's not in place yet. But this is the cable they provide to go to it. This already has your plus and your minus, and already has a fuse built into it, so it's good to go. We're just going to leave this in place and get it connected later. All right guys, we've got our hoses in the general area that they're going to end up. This one heads over to the pump. This one is the long one that's going all the way up front to the radiator. Now it's time to go ahead and put our turbo on our intake manifold and then get that mounted to the engine itself. Let's go ahead and get our gasket in place. Make sure it's clean. Kind of tight in here. All right, next, let's just get everything snugged down, and then we're going to use one of our Motion Pro tools to hold this wrench to get in there to those ones we can't get a torque wrench directly on. Well, honestly, there's only one that we can use just a regular extension. The other 3 will have to use this adapter to get that torqued. And that is important because each one of these need to go to 18 foot-pounds. Now we're going to make a couple of passes when we do that just to make sure, because we are compressing a metal gasket. All right, everyone's seated. Let's go around and get them torqued. We'll do the easy one first. Now the trick to using one of these is that you need to make sure that you're at 90 degrees to it. So right there, that's where it needs to be. And that distance won't matter. All right, that's all 4, but let's go back and check each one to make sure they're all at the right torque. See, there it took a little bit more as we were compressing that metal gasket. All right, guys, I think we're ready to go. Let's get it put on the machine. I want to go ahead and prep these studs. I prefer to use a high temp anti-seize spray, just a little bit. Not that I'm being pessimistic, but in case we ever want to take this apart, this may make it possible. All right, next, let's get in our exhaust gaskets. Now let's bring her up into position. All right, let's go ahead and get these started. As we're working these down, you can count on having to go back and forth a few times before everything gets compressed into place and torqued down, because we want to end up with a final torque of 14 foot-pounds. And I've heard or read that after about 100 miles, we need to come back and re-torque these, probably a couple of times. Right now, let's get them all just seated, and then we'll break out the torque wrench. It amazes me how much weight is just hanging off that engine now. Like I said, we'll have to make a couple of passes because we're compressing down those gaskets. So we've got everything torqued down. Let's head over to the other side of the engine where we're going to remove one of the oil passageway plugs, and we're going to put in a flange bolt for our oil line. And don't forget your crush washer. And we've got it in there snug. Let's torque it to 8.7 foot-pounds. Now don't just guess at this because this is a hollow bolt. And if you're wrong, you're going to snap it. All right, guys, let's get in our first oil line to that fitting that we just installed. So the 90-degree bend goes to the turbo. The 45 heads over here because when you install the throttle bodies, it would hit the 90-degree one. Now let's get our throttle bodies on and make sure everything clears. And this is not easy, by the way. Yeah, good luck on doing that without a little bit of contact cleaner to get it to slide on. Whew. The question is, am I hitting there or do I have a teeny bit of clearance? Good to go. Now let's get our throttle body boots tightened down, which will be more important now than ever because we're going to be under pressure. Question is, how many PSI are we going to go for? 6, 8, 12? Get it reprogrammed for 16 or 18 and have to run race fuel? Nah, we probably won't take it that far. If you went with the bigger injectors and put in the race fuel, you could get 350 horsepower, if not more, out of it. But your reliability would just have to go through the floor with that, and that's not what I want. And I'm not racing it anyway. This is just to give it a little bit more pep in its step. Next, let's get in our oil drain flange with its gasket, and it goes to the bottom of the turbo. And we're going to torque these bolts to 18 foot-pounds. Now let's get our oil drain line attached, and we just want to point it back in this direction for right now. I guess we're going to tighten that up. If we need to loosen it, we'll loosen it. All right, next let's get our 40-inch coolant line, and it heads right here. And then our 38 line goes over on the other side. All right, guys, as you can see, I am struggling in vain trying to get this one fitting to tighten up. So what we're going to do is release this arm, bring the box end of the wrench all the way up on the hose itself, bing, get it tightened up. Then we're going to put that arm back on very carefully and then get the circlip back in position. All right, next let's get our turbo outlet pipe along with its associated gasket on there. I'm not going to torque these yet. I'm going to address putting on the exhaust later, but for right now we're going to skip over that and head on to the next step, which is, believe it or not, to remove this timing cover or bolt, if you will, because that is where the old drain line is going to attach to the engine. Pretty creative if you ask me. So you've got the adapter, then you have this 5mm spacer, which also will seal it up, as it is made out of aluminum or aluminium. Make Jeremy happy. There. Well, I'm glad I've got the exhaust off. It'd be all in my way right now. Careful right here, don't let it cross thread on you. There's not a lot of clearance. All right, next we're going to reroute this idle air control line under the throttle bodies and then up in between the intakes for cylinder 2 and 3. Now when we get it up there, we want to actually cut off right before it goes into the turn. All right guys, a little bit more cutting. We're going to come in and cut this, and then we're going to leave 2 straight sections, and this is what's going to attach to our 2 coolant lines that are still hanging over there. All right, so we're going to bring our 40-inch in here. And then the 38 to the top one. That should do. All right, next we just need to remove our intake air temperature off of our old Airbox and just transfer it over after we clean it up just a little bit. All right. Next, we just need to install the nipple on our intake manifold. Now we just want to hang these on there loosely, oriented like this, so we can get to them to tighten them down. All right, let's get her popped on there. All right, let's tighten down those clamps. Next, we need to get this little support bracket in place. Now, they'd already sent this particular nut and bolt, which is a locking type, and the one I'm going to use up top, which they did not provide, is going to have a lock washer as well. Now, if yours doesn't, you need to put some Loctite up there. Actually, this bolt will go through the old tank, but I don't have that mounted right now. We're going to temporarily put it in place, that way I can get the rest of the plumbing done without disturbing the boots. Very good. Right, next, they want you to put the boost pressure hose to that nipple that we installed earlier. Now we're just going to attach it with a zip tie to keep pressure on it. All right, next, let's go ahead and get our first 90-degree silicone elbow on. We're going to go ahead and put on a second clamp, but that'll be tightened down later when we get our air cooler in place. All right, next, we want to remove this map sensor on the back and replace it with a 3-bar unit. On this kit, I believe that's number 20. All right guys, we're getting ready to install the air cooler, but before we do that, I did a test fit, and this first hose that goes into it, it needs to be cut down, otherwise it pushes out too far. And it turns out that this hose is just a little too long, because if we mount it uncut, it pushes everything too far. So I've got it marked. Let me get this cut, take out about 1 inch, and then we'll start assembling it. All right, now let's see what we've got. Okay, much more like it, because your attachment points are right here. And now it lines up like it's supposed to. It just took a little bit of trimming to get it to go in there right. I think it's safe for us to go ahead and tighten these down now. Personally, it bothers me to have this much thread hanging out, but these are the bolts that they sent. Now let's get in there and tighten up a couple of clamps. In the kit, you know, she had 3 90-degree elbows. 2 of them were the same, and then you had one that goes from a 2.5 down to a 2. Of course, that goes over to the turbo side. Need a little bit more distance here. Okay, once you push these on, don't push too far, Getting them to come back is not easy. Now we got it. All right. All right, guys, give me a couple of minutes just to get my oil tank remounted, because I want to be at the same point as you are in your install, because of course we're in the middle of doing a frame swap and I never had installed the oil tank. But now I need to go ahead and put it in place, and then we'll modify the hoses accordingly and get that new catch can and separator installed. All right, guys, we're ready to go now. Let's go ahead and remove these two hoses along with the oil separator. Break that seal loose and then she'll come off. All right, with the oil separator out of the way, we're going to use its mounting place for the cooling surge tank. Before you tighten this down, make sure you've got a little bit of clearance in between it and the intake box. All right, so we've taken away the old separator mounting place. The new separator will be mounted against this wall once that's installed. And now, let's get these protective caps cut off. Now this is going to be hose number 41, which I believe is 11 inches long, and it's a 3/4. All right, remember our hoses from so long ago that we ran from the front of the vehicle? Well, now we finally get to connect them. So 44, which was the really long one, will head to the bottom of the heat exchanger, and the other one that comes off the pump goes to the cooling surge tank. Yeah, I'm zip tying this in place, but honestly, I won't know if these are permanent until I get everything put back on. But this is generally the way you're going to want it routed. Of course, you want to keep as far away from the turbo as you can, because a lot of heat gets generated from it. So keep that particular hose as far away as it'll let you. All right, guys, you need to pay attention at this point. That brand new radiator cap that they sent, it does not go on this particular tank. It actually goes on your radiator. Now, the one that's on your radiator right now, you pull it off and put it on this tank. Now, this will get installed on the radiator once I reinstall it. So now we get to deal with the idle air control hose setup. All right, remember when we cut that one section up here? Well, now we take this 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter and attach it to the end of this hose. Then you take hose number 60, which is 8 inches long, 1/2 inch. Attach it to the other end of the barb. Now we take the 4-inch, 1/2 inch hose and go into this T. The 5-inch to this side of the T. And then bring that back in to the 8-inch. That's where you end up like this. And we're going to add zip ties in a little bit, but let's get everything in position before we lock it in. All right, give me a minute while I reinstall my air cutoff valve. All right, let's get this hose off our air injection valve, because that one is going to head over. That I'm reusing one of the clamps. All right, guys, the next part is to install this 135-degree arm that's going to in turn go up to the airbox through another fitting. But guess what? Looks the part, is not long enough. Now, I went through all kind of gyrations trying to figure that out. I even started reassembling the rest of the machine and working backwards to this to make sure I was right. And there ended up being a gap about like that. The only thing I can come up with is whatever supplier the GYTR team was using, well, they made a mistake. So what did I have to do? Ordered another one, a little bit longer, and actually cut it to fit. And you can see that's what we actually needed. So hopefully yours does not have this too short version in your kit. So with the correct length, let's grab a clamp and get it installed so we can finish this thing up. All right, we're going to leave the clamp a little bit loose for a few more minutes in case we have to shift anything around. That should be it. All right, next we're going to get in our air hose, and you want to position this to where this larger barb is going toward the right side of the vehicle, and then the smaller one is facing down. Now I also want to take note, when you're putting on these clamps, you want to make sure that the clamps end up being perpendicular and not cocked one way or the other. Otherwise, it's not going to tighten down correctly and probably loosen up over time. Now, per the instructions, hose number 62 is supposed to go from here to this T. Well, I don't know about you, but that looks like a 90-degree to me. So we had this left over from, I think it was the air purge valve on top of the engine. So what I'm going to do is cut it down and have it go in like this. Then we're going to take 63, attach it, and there will be an oil catch tank over on that side sometime soon. But once we get these at least pushed onto the barbs, we're going to go back and then put zip ties on each one of those connections to hold them in place. All right, guys, I got to give credit where credit is due. Normally when I see a little rack or a container of zip ties like this, I go, man, that's going to be some of those El Cheapos that aren't going to last any length of time. And I make sure I'm ready with some higher end stuff to go in place of it. But upon closer inspection, believe it or not, these are on par or better than the ones that I was going to use. These are actually from Thomas & Betts. So rest assured, they're not going to let go. So you're good to go with the stock ones. Don't use the cheap stuff though. Well done, GYTR. All right, guys, before we go any further, I want to pause and swap out the injectors because this is going to have a stage 3 tune, and I decided to go with 1000cc Bosch injectors. So let me get that done real quick, and then we'll continue. You can tell this one's been sitting for a while. I think we better clean out that fuel rail. Okay, let's go. All right, for this particular setup, you do not want to use the seals that came with these particular Bosch units. They're too big, so you'll need to reorder 3 of the OEM ones to go on the Bosch injectors. All right, let's get her back on the machine. Guess you can kind of guess why I didn't want to do this after everything else was installed now, right? All right, with these particular Bosch injectors, you do have to use an adapter. So if you order these on your own, make sure you get an adapter to handle that conversion. Things get awfully tight in here with all this stuff. Now let's go ahead and get our coils in, because really once I get that adapter plate and the airbox in, all this would be really difficult to get to. Now we need to install the 1/4-inch boost pressure hose to the barb on the wastegate actuator and secure that with zip ties. All right, next let's go ahead and get that last 3-inch silicone tube on this aluminum T-fitting, if you want to call it that. We'll go ahead and get our clamps in place and put in our airbox later. All right, this last one, we'll leave it pointed down to where I can get to it with an extension. All right, guys, let's get our hoses put together for this side of the radiator, which has not been mounted yet. But what you need to put together is 66, 69, 67, and then 68. And you want it to look about like this with this, I guess you call it a bleeding screw, pointed forward on the machine. So this is the way you want to set up. Then onto the water pump. I think we want to end up about right here. Now, one long zip tie about right here. So this takes care of the plumbing modifications for the turbo install. Now I just need to go back to the other side and reinstall the factory equipment for 2019. Next, let's deal with the air cleaner. Now in the instructions, they want you to mount this plate to the frame itself, and then this holder, and then the air cleaner itself. I've elected not to do it that way because there's not a lot of working room in there. So what we're going to do is go ahead and mount the holder and the air cleaner to the bracket, and then mount the bracket to the frame. So get yours to look like this. Leave these loose so you can still rotate the housing, and we'll go ahead and get it installed. So we will be attaching it with this bolt that was also going through the air cooler, and then this other bracket down here is where you're going to feed through that 6mm nut and bolt. So let's see if we can get all this stuff to cooperate at the same time. That is going to be it, believe it or not. So go ahead and get the silicone hose onto the intake, or the airbox rather. Put a little bit of brake cleaner on it to make it slide in there a bit easier. There we go. Now we've got something. Now we can feed this through the bracket, through the air cooler, and then through the frame. Now the front part of the bracket, we're using this 10mm head bolt and then this locking nut. I think we are going to reroute one thing. The hose that's going to end up going to the catch can, we're going to bring it on top of that bracket. I think I'm liking that better. I'm not liking how this is going to rub against that edge. I think we've got enough distance to move this on the other side. So let's reroute that around. It eventually would cut through it, in my opinion. Even if I am not doing it the way Yamaha wanted it, maybe I don't want it that way. Aren't you glad I'm going through this learning curve instead of you? Now you're glad you're watching this video, aren't you? We're going to roll with that till something else proves me wrong. But I like that a lot better than what we were looking at. Now we can tighten up this back bolt. Last, let's go back and tighten up our clamp on that silicone hose. Now we had these loose, but at this point we can go ahead and tighten them down. All right, let's go ahead and get our air filter crammed in there. Well, this engine used to have a lot of room to work on it. Not anymore. All right, let's go ahead and get our air oil separator in. You're basically reusing one of your hoses from the old one and then connecting in this new one. Now, what you're going to want to do is mount this to the bulkhead. Of course, mine isn't installed yet, but it's simple. Just a couple of bolts straight through, nuts on this side, right in that general location right there. Then you also want to, of course, reattach the drain line, which was connected to your old separator. It's going to be the same size down at the bottom. All right, guys, we basically finished the installation of the turbo. Now we need to go back and put in our fluids. So we've got to put radiator fluid for the cooling surge tank. Then once we reinstall the radiator, we have to refill the engine cooling system. Then we need to prime the turbo with oil and then get the oil system refilled as well. Now, if you need help doing this, you may need to reference your service manual. All right, let's start with the cooling surge tank. We want to go ahead and fill it with coolant. Now, for me, I can't turn on the ignition, so I'm just going to use a battery to cycle the pump as I'm going through this procedure. Now, what I'm going to do is verify the pump is running, and then I'm going to check to ensure the coolant is flowing. Now, what we need to do is locate the bleeder valve on top of the radiator in the front. And we want to open this up until we start seeing coolant flow out of the bleeder itself. Close the valve, check the surge tank, and fill it again. I mean, all we're doing right now is just getting air out of the system. But if coolant does not flow, we need to unbolt the pump from the bracket, position the pump at the lowest point of the cooling circuit, and lightly shake the pump to free any trapped air. Now chances are you're not going to have to do this, but I just want to prepare you that you could have a really stubborn air pocket that we have to release at the pump itself. So whatever you do at this point, do not open that valve up on the radiator, because you'll just have to do all of this again. And after that, you just reinstall the pump, refill the surge tank up to the radiator cap, and you're going to need at least 5 quarts of Yamacool to pull this off. So make sure you've got that on hand. Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap up this part of the procedure, although you can tell I've got a whole lot of work to do. Now, if you need any parts for your machine, why don't you head over to Partzilla.com and we can get you taken care of. Now, if you do have any questions or comments about this particular video, leave them in the section below and I'll do my best to answer them. So that's going to wrap this one up, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.